With the holiday of Pesach fast approaching, we'll continue today speaking about another aspect of the seder night. The ka'ara, the seder plate that we have on the table, what should it contain? What is the symbolism associated with each part of that, each item that we put on that seder plate? So first of all, we have to have 3 matzot on there. And the 3 matzot should be made from matzah shmura, from matzah that has been guarded and observed from the time of harvesting. And 3 matzot specifically, several reasons are brought by Hachamim. One of them, it symbolizes the totality of the Jewish people. So we have Kohanim, Leviim, and Israelim. That's the 3. Another one, it represents our forefathers, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Another reason that is brought is it makes allusion to when Avraham Avinu received the guests, the Malachim that came to visit, he prepared for them. He told his wife, Rushi Va'asi, please prepare like matzah and shalosh se'im. He prepared it with 3 measures of flour, so that's the 3. And finally, when somebody at Bet HaMikdash brought a certain korban, a certain sacrifice of thankfulness, there was accompanying the korban todah, there was 3 types of matzah that were brought together with the thanksgiving sacrifice. And since the night of Pesach is a lot also about thanksgiving to Hashem for taking us out of Egypt and leading us in the desert, etc., so we also make allusion to these 3 types of matzah that were brought with the korban of thankfulness by having 3 matzah specifically on the table and on the ka'ara, on the seder plate. Another of the items on the seder plate is the maror. Maror could be any certain types of vegetables. There are many types of vegetables that would be suitable for maror. Right, in our community, we prefer to use romaine lettuce, and this is something that we're going to dip in the charoset and eat it. And one thing to be said about the lettuce, please, to make sure that there is no insects left on the maror, that it's well cleaned. And the matzah that we mentioned, we have to have a certain amount of matzah that we eat. So the minimum is kazait, as you say the bracha on the matzah. So aside from these 3 matzot you have on the ka'ara, there should be ample supply of matzah shmura available for the people who are participating in the seder to eat a quantity of at least kazait. And the amount of kazait is about 2/3 of a machine-made matzah. The square matzah that we buy that is machine-made, 2/3 of that's kazait. So as you use typically the round shmura matzah that you put on the ka'ara, from that you'll use a certain amount to eat, but you have to add to it more from other matzah that is not on the ka'ara to be able to get to the amount of kazait, of at least the amount of, to fulfill the obligation of eating matzah as a mitzvah. Another item that is on the seder plate is the zeroah, the bone. We use a shank bone. We use typically a bone from a lamb. This is reminiscent of the Paschal lamb, the sacrifice of Korban Pesach that was eaten at the time of Bet HaMikdash on the night of Pesach. So to remind us of that, we have a shank bone from a lamb. And there's also an egg on the seder plate, and the egg is representative of 2 things. One aspect is Korban Chagiga. Additionally to the Korban Pesach, they brought also Korban Chagiga, and the egg is representative of that. And Hachamim also explained that it sort of like a sign of mourning for the destruction of the temple, and its round shape symbolizes the cycle of life, and we hope for the rebuilding of Bet HaMikdash speedily in our days, so that we'll be able again to celebrate the holiday with the korbanot that are applicable for the day. Then we have also charoset. What is charoset? Well, I guess each family has maybe a slightly different recipe, but basically it's grated fruits, like you could take apples and grate them, mix with them also dates and nuts, grated nuts, and all mixed together with wine or with sweet wine or grape juice. and we add to it cinnamon and some other spices if you wish. And that whole mixture is mixed well together. The time to prepare it is before the night of the seder, so that you don't have to spend time for people waiting for this to be ready. And the charoset is representative of the mortar, like they used to make when they were slaves in Egypt. They used bricks and mortar, and that mixture is like a cement mixture that they made. That's what it's supposed to remind us. Some families even have a custom of adding cinnamon sticks to represent the straw that was put together with the mortar in making the bricks. Then we have karpas. What is karpas? It's celery. It's a vegetable that is different than the maror, than the romaine lettuce. It's celery that we're going to dip in salt water. The salt water does not go on the kiara, it goes on the side on the table. But the karpas is that the celery that we're going to dip into the salt water representative of the tears that they had as they were being enslaved by the Egyptians. And the karpas in Hebrew, which stands for celery, represents karpas. Chachamim explain it's composed by the letter samech and then perech. Perech is hard labor, samech is 60. It's the 60 myriads. In other words, shishim ribo. Ribo is 10,000. 60 times 10,000 is 600. That's the 600,000 Jews that went out of Egypt, adult males. And these are the ones that are referred to by karpas, that they were forced labor, hard labor. Perech is hard labor. Samech is an allusion to the 600,000 people. But there is another explanation also. Karpas has to do with, Rabbeinu Manuach explains, karpas has another meaning besides the meaning of celery. Karpas has to do with fine woolen clothing, and it makes reference to the beautiful coat, multicolored coat, that Yaakov made for Yosef, and because of the jealousy that the brothers had towards Yosef. And through that jealousy, they sold him as a slave to Egypt, and through that kind of conflict amongst brothers. This is what started the chain of events that brought us to Egypt, and that brought the exile. And that kind of disagreement and conflict amongst brothers is what also created the situation that brought the exile from Jerusalem. So as we begin the seder of Pesach, which will end with the redemption and the salvation and the exodus from Egypt, but we remember as the first thing, and this will be one of the first things that we do in Seder Pesach, after the Kiddush and washing our hands without a bracha in order to be able to dip. So one of the first things that we do in the Seder of Pesach is we dip the celery in the salt water representing of tears, and the karpas representing that woolen tunic, that beautiful coat, multicolored coat that Yaakov gave to Yosef, that created the jealousy and the conflict that set the stage for the beginning of the succession of events that brought the exile into Egypt. And just like we were redeemed from Egypt, may we be zocheh soon, speedily in our days, for the coming of Mashiach. Amen. Ken Yirtzon.